Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back with your daily crypto news and analysis. And today we're going to be talking about Ripple and XRP, so let's just dive in and let's talk about a few things. So, first off, we're just going to start out with this tweet from Mark Cuban, and we do see come in and talk to who, set up an appointment how. You using Calendly these days, since you understand crypto lending / finances, why don't you just publish bright line guidelines you would like to see and open it up for comments? And we do see Gary Gensler actually saying there's no reason to treat the crypto market differently from the rest of the capital markets just because it uses different technology. And of course, shots are being fired from Mark Cuban towards Gary Gensler and the entire SEC agency. We've talked about this in the past as well. You know, we look at what the SEC is doing. They're talking about guidelines. They're talking about crypto, regulations, but nothing is moving. It's almost like, a car dealership, right? Talking about selling cars instead of actually selling cars. We want to see some sort of guideline, out there for, these crypto market participants to actually follow. It is a big issue right now. Any company in this market is going into this market blindly. They don't know if they're going to be targeted. They don't know what is going to happen next. I mean, we've even discussed this with like Ethereum. Ethereum for the longest, time has the free pass, but it could very well be next because Gary Gensler has backtracked and said, hey, Ethereum, we don't know if it is a commodity or not. Bitcoin 100% is, though. That's how we're treating it. So Bitcoin did get the full-on free pass, but Ethereum and the rest of this market is free game. And we've actually talked about why this is, the case. We've talked about how they will essentially go after exchanges later on at some point in time. Because guess what? Every crypto asset out there besides Bitcoin is technically a security in the SEC's handbook. So we need clear guidelines. We need to stop talking about them. We need to actually start moving in on them and actually releasing a report on this. It is absolutely disgusting what the SEC is actually doing right now. And also, we've just seen a major announcement. The largest stablecoins could be banned in the EU under its new MiCA legislation. It imposes limits on digital currencies denominated in anything but the euro, crypto lobbyists argue. And I thought this was actually interesting. So we've been talking about a few things happening around stablecoins, around CBDCs, things like that. And I do believe that we will see a lot of these stablecoins and a lot of things that are not backed by the euro banned in some of these areas. We could also even see within the United States everything banned that is not backed by the dollar. This is because they don't want to lose their dominance factor. We've talked about this in the past, even with CBDCs as well. But we do see crypto lobby associations are seeking clarity from EU legislators over incoming restrictions on foreign-denominated stablecoins. Euro-backed stablecoins are not yet an alternative as they represent a tiny share of the crypto market. And dollar-pegged stablecoins might be blocked in the European Union's 27 countries in the bloc's new markets in crypto assets. MiCA legislation enters into force in its current form. So, yeah, I mean, this is interesting. I think that there's going to be a lot of control around stablecoins going forward. I think that when we really kind of look at DeFi, it's sad, right? We've been talking about crypto for a while in regards to decentralization. And I think that a lot of people actually have a very ill-conceived notion on what, decentralization actually looks like. I would argue that going forward, this market is not going to be that decentralized. We've been seeing a lot of control being put in place by government entities that we would never have guessed, being a possibility going back as far as we'll say 2010, 2012 when, things really kind of started to pick up in crypto. But yeah, I mean, when we look at stable coins, I think that a lot of these will be, banned in specific areas where, they do want to hold up their main, for example, currency dominated stable coins. But we definitely have to watch closely what happens around regulatory stance. I think that regulations in general are going to be ushered in around these specific areas. Within stablecoins have been the talk since, the Luna situation. But even before that, we've seen quite a bit of discussions around it as they were gaining a lot of traction even during 2021, holding up a very significant percentage of market cap value of crypto. And also this leads to the Brics theory. So shout out to Utility for the win on Twitter here, but we do see my Ripple Brics theory, the US dollar soon to explode, Brics carving the path to a new system. Of the Brics nations, and those are also seeking to join, most are linked to Ripple through partnerships and central banks. And yeah, we've been really kind of looking at this. We've been really kind of reporting on this and keeping a close eye out on this as well, because things are unfolding at a very rapid pace within the Brics. We recently talked about how China is moving in on gold. A lot of the Brics nations are actually moving in on gold. They're stockpiling it. They are, gaining a ton of recognition within this area too from a lot of like reporters. But, you know, are we going back to the gold standard? Because that's the big question. A lot of people actually do believe that we are. I myself actually do think that we are as well. But we do see targeting the U.S. dollar's hegemony. Russia, China, and Brics nations plan to craft a new international reserve currency. Ripple India expanding workforce, senior project manager, numerous CBDC projects as well. We do see that down here reported going back to June 1st of 2022. You can really kind of read into this if you guys want. Then we do see Qatar National Bank plus Ripple sending remittances into Turkey, both nations seeking entry into the Brics. And we do see down here that report going back to October 6, 2021. Saudi Arabia Central Bank plus Ripple is seeking entry into Brics as well. And then down here, Uruguay looking to join Brics, RippleNet connections through AstroPay and also Focal. Now, a lot of people think that RippleNet would not be utilized in this, aspect, and that is the case. Like, they most likely will not be able to be utilized, for an example, like with Russia, as they are fully sanctioned. But what could happen here is the XRP ledger being utilized within these areas. And, the recent Brazil connection to RippleNet was very large, but we are seeing a lot of the Brics nations, being directly connected to RippleNet. And this is interesting, especially at this current moment in time, as we are seeing quite a bit of traction from the Brics. And we do see down here, aside from Russia, the Brics nations and those favorable to join all have the ability to easily connect to each other through RippleNet, through a central bank or on-demand liquidity provider. Each country can make cross-border payments faster and cheaper than SWIFT. All of this is happening at a time when the U.S. financial system is on the edge of collapse. At the same time, Ripple and XRP tied up in a legal clown show by the SEC. All of this while the IMF endorses XRP and XLM over other networks. And yes, going back to January 26, 2022, the IMF document did release the fact that they were loving XRP and XLM for a lot of cross-border payments and financial use cases. Shout out to, Utility Theory for that as well. But yeah, I would argue that XRP is being moved in on pretty quick. A lot of people say, like, in case you are unaware, Russia is sanctioned by the U.S. and therefore cannot use RippleNet. No, it actually doesn't blow up the whole theory, because they don't need to utilize RippleNet to achieve the power behind the XRP ledger. And remember, the XRP ledger cannot be sanctioned. It is a decentralized, mechanism. So when we really kind of look at this, they don't technically need to utilize RippleNet. I know that all of the connections are through RippleNet, but they could, source the XRP ledger power itself and actually transact in XRP, still, achieving the same exact consensus time to, finality, as well as, the speed, the cost, etc., as well as even sourcing liquidity through XRP, which could be very interesting. Now, again, I don't want to go too in depth on this because we don't have clear full-on, confirmation, but we have been addressing the fact that the Brics are moving in on a gold-backed system, and if that is the case, XRP could very well be the perfect bridge currency to move and transact at a very rapid pace within a new network. And this new network, or new system, if you will, would, basically stifle SWIFT, because again, a lot of these major nations, including their major banks, have been disconnecting from SWIFT and trying to create their own financial network and system itself. And also, I want to share with you guys real quick PolySign. So we've talked about PolySign in the past. I think that this is a very, distinct connection to Ripple and XRP. But we do see here from Real Lisa Daly on Twitter, the fact that he is from the BNY Mellon and pioneered FedNow, plus Tim Keeney is retired vice chairman of BNY Mellon and is an advisor to PolySign, made me think, what if the real purpose of PolySign is to custody crypto for the Federal Reserve? And we do see down here, this is with the FedNow Instant Payments, pioneer of Now, Andrew Maskell, BNY Mellon. We've talked a little bit about the FedNow service with Volante Tech. There's quite a bit of connections there with Ripple as well. We basically talked about why the Federal Reserve will be utilizing XRP. But with PolySign, it is very interesting, right? There's a lot of information on PolySign that you can actually find from individuals like Molly Elmore 22, which, like I said the other day, definitely follow her on Twitter. But we do see, will PolySign change the world of finance? Crypto and digital assets have a big problem: secure and blockchain assets. Big money investors won't risk their clients' funds if a blockchain can be hacked. And yeah, I think that PolySign is a huge, link here. First off, PolySign is an institutional custody provider for digital assets. Custody of digital assets is an extremely important issue for institutional investors who manage large amounts of client funds. Military-level security to ensure digital assets owned by large investors are not subject to hacks or thefts. Now, you might be wondering, well, where does XRP come into play? Well, if we do see down here, like through Codius, smart contract software that runs on decentralized networks connected to Ripple and used by PolySign, could be used to support management of contracts where multiple parties are involved. Trade finance supports derivative financial products that require conditional logic and programming to execute. And we've actually discussed Polygon or PolySign in the past. I always want to say Polygon. Because again, when you actually go and look over at PolySign's website, if you look down here in regards to the people who are backing this, you do see like, some board members from Ripple, aka David Schwartz, as well as even Arthur Britto, which has always been anonymous. And we also even see the CCO, which is also a previous CCO at Ripple Labs. And yeah, I mean, like, this is the all-star team. There's only 5 individuals here in regards to like who's backing it, but the key players here are David Schwartz, Arthur Britto, and of course Antoinette O'Gorman. Direct connections to Ripple. Are they going to be utilizing, for an example, Ripple Net, possibilities with XRP or anything like that? No, not exactly. I would say this is more so custody of crypto assets and things like that. But we do see down here like retail investors learn early on to guard their 12-word seed phrase and to store digital assets on a cold wallet to keep them safe. Are those reasonable solutions for a hedge fund managing hundreds of millions of dollars? No. PolySign offers institutional financial firms, hedge funds, and private equity VCs a way to keep their digital assets secure. And like I said, if we are going to be talking about Ripple moving in on the financial sector, specifically like financial institutions, etc., this use case from PolySign is going to be a key player here. We do see down here that PolySign are under strict NDAs while they are building. So not much is known about the company's long-term plans. This is remarkable considering they have 70 employees, 200 clients, and have raised $150 million in funding. They have a subsidiary called Centered Custody and Trust that is licensed to operate in New York as a bank that includes holding funds in escrow, which is similar to custody of assets. And yeah, there's quite a bit behind this. A lot of people actually argued that this could very well be the bank that they will be utilizing, aka like them working as a bank with Ripple as their payment and settlement mechanism. It could very well be, but I wouldn't put a lot of thought into that. But we do see down here, like with Ripple's XRP ledger and on-demand liquidity market, plus PolySign's secure custody of assets, plus Codius's smart contract software for financial derivatives products, the big money players can move into digital assets. This is potentially way bigger than Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. And yes, very well could be, bigger than anything that we actually thought of. Remember, everyone always gets stuck on the idea of like cross-border payments, nostro-vostro accounts, the derivatives market, all of the money. Like all of that kind of stuff is a lot of just kind of noise, if you will. I'm not saying that it doesn't like exist or there's no like, proof of us actually working within those areas. I would say that there's quite a bit actually. But what I mean is that there's so much more going on than just that. We have to look at PolySign. We have to look at things happening behind the scenes with a lot of like the players from Ripple as well, as they are moving on to other major projects that are focused on like institutional custody, which kind of gives you an insight on where they are also headed with Ripple, right? Ripple has for the longest time bestowed themselves as, the bankers token or the bankers company. They have been focusing on bankers for a long time. XRP has always been touted as the bankers coin for a reason, because XRP itself is going to be sourcing quite a bit of, value as well as volume through its on-demand liquidity mechanism on Ripple. There's so much here. There's a lot of money to talk about. There's a lot of connections to talk about, but PolySign has always been one of those like very anonymous companies. There's not a lot of information at all besides this front-facing value sort of, screen. Sure, you could look at like their LinkedIn and stuff like that, but there's not a lot of information behind this besides, of course, institutional grade custody. and the connections with Arthur Brito, David Schwartz, and of course like the CCO at Ripple Labs. And again, these are major players here, because even like the other ones are coming from very substantial names, like even UBS, as well as like BNY Mellon, which again are very substantial, high-ranking elite names within the institutional grade area. But again, there's not a lot of information here. There's not a ton to really kind of disclose at all. So again, we don't have a ton of information on that, but when we really kind of look at things happening around the world, things are rapidly changing, and I would argue that PolySign is going to play a pivotal role in Ripple's success. More so, they will be the possible institutional grade custody mechanism that is going to hold quite a bit of assets, that is going to allow for adoption of certain things within the Ripple ecosystem. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe to notifications on if you guys want more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. As always, up to you all. Have a beautiful day, a beautiful night, wherever you guys are in this beautiful world. It's been Nick. Peace out, guys.